Hi everyone, hello, how are you doing? Welcome to another video of chapter 11, Enhancement in Food Production. Up to now, we have been discussing about the role of microorganism in food industry, in production of organic acids, then dairy products, how the production of cheese is done with the help of use of different types of microorganisms, then cheese production, yogurt production, then different types of enzymes can be produced, different types of antibiotics are produced using microorganism. Now we will be talking about the use of microorganism in sewage treatment. Okay, yes. The sewage, the drainage that is, released from household processes and also from industries. Basically, sewage is all your municipal wastewater that comes from domestic houses. Okay, your sink water, your the water which is wastewater that comes out of the bathroom, toilet, everything, the drainage water that is known as sewage. Okay, so this sewage, where does all the sewage goes? So the sewage water is released into the water body. But before release of the sewage into the water body, there is some treatment which is given so that the toxicity, and we all know that the sewage contains large amount of organic matter and microorganisms. So all of this needs to be removed before letting away this water mix into the water bodies, either rivers or plants, etc. Okay, so along with organic matter and microbes, it contains all the household waste, dissolved cellulose substances. It has microorganisms, all different kinds of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, mold, protozoa, etc. Okay, so even discharge of from the industries and chemical factories, pharmaceutical waste, all of this together, they form this wastewater, which is sewage. Okay, now you will find loads of organic matter which gives black color to this sewage water. You might have seen the water which is there in the gutters, big gutters, small gutters, that blackish color which is there of that water. That is because of load of organic matter. Okay. So this organic matter has to be reduced, microorganisms load has to be removed, toxic microorganisms which are capable of causing disease. Okay, everything has to be removed. So the treatment needs to be given to this water before letting this water release into water bodies like lakes or ponds in the outskirts of the city. Okay, so it has to be treated properly, and this treatment is known as micro sewage water treatment. Now there are steps in treating these wastewater. Okay, so for this, you have the sewage treatment plants that are set up outside the city. Okay, that is on the periphery of the city. They are known as sewage treatment plants. They process these water that come from the city, and they make it less polluted, then so that it can be released into the nearby water bodies. Okay, so the steps involved are primary, secondary, and tertiary. So the primary is basically removing or screening for bigger particles, for soil particles, grit particles, and all the bigger waste which is there in the water to separate that. Okay, so basically, it's a physical process, physical removal of the particle. So primary treatment, the first step in the sewage treatment is allowing the water to settle basically. Okay, so all the waste matter, all the debris and all the soil particles, everything, the heavy waste matter will sink at the bottom as you see in this picture over here. Okay, and lightweight waste material like plastics or oil or grease or fats, all these substances will float on the top. So the waste is removed from the top also, and the waste which has collected at the bottom there, here also it is removed. Okay, so you want only the water which goes for further treatment. Before that, in the primary step, all this debris and sand, stone, everything is removed. Okay, so this grit can be soil and small pebbles. the water is allowed to stand in the tank, sedimentation tank. This tank is known as sedimentation tank. The water is just allowed to rest, and the water and the settled material is removed. So all the solids that settle form the primary sludge. So the waste that you collect, okay, this is known as primary sludge. Okay, this word is very important because we will see why this primary sludge is important. Okay, and the supernatant for the primary effluent. So the water which is now left behind free from bigger solid waste is known as now primary effluent. Now this primary effluent will be subjected to secondary treatment. Okay. So moving to the secondary treatment. Now what happens in the secondary treatment? The primary effluent, the water which is now free from big stones and grit and all the oil, grease, and other solid waste material. So that water now is passed into large aeration tanks. Okay, like you see in the picture, there are big tanks. Okay, in the open, wherein the water is, introduced, and then now here there are what you say fans, or there are machines which will constantly rotate the water, and air will be introduced into these water. So they are constantly agitated. Okay, like constantly the water is stirred. Agitated means what? The water is constantly stirred, stirred, and air is also introduced in these tank. Now, your question might arise that why this aeration and agitation needs to is required. Now, this aeration and agitation is basically it will introduce the growth of, it will allow the growth of aerobic microorganisms. Okay. Now, another question will arise in your mind that the treatment is for removing the load of microorganism, load of pathogenic microorganisms. But now, what are we doing over here in the secondary step? You are putting, you're constantly agitating it, and you are introducing air through holes. So, what is happening over here? Uh, what actually happens is that this aerobic microorganisms will do what? They will form flocks, they will form gucha like thing, and they will trap other microorganisms, fungal, mold, all these filament, and they will try to make mesh-like structures out of these, these aerobic microorganisms. Okay, so this will help in what? This flocks that are formed in the water will further make it easy for the removal of the microorganisms which will be attached in this meshwork-like structures. Okay. So secondary treatment, what happens? The aeration tanks are used constantly. The water is agitated. Water is stirred, and this stirring allows the growth of aerobic microorganisms, that is microorganisms which require oxygen, air for their growth. This will form flocks, like communities, like big colonies. They will form. They will associate other bacteria, and they will associate fungal filaments, and then they will form these meshwork like structures. Okay, what will happen? These microorganisms, these aerobic microorganisms, in addition to form flocks, they will consume the organic matter, the blackish organic matter which is there in the water. So they will feed onto that organic matter which is there in the wastewater, and they will try to reduce the load of the organic matter. This organic matter, okay, this is known as biological oxidation, oxygen demand. Means what? The more the growth of aerobic microorganisms, the less will be the BOD of the effluent. Okay, because if you leave the water just like that, with high organic matter, high the carbon which is there, the organic carbon containing molecules which is there in the sewage water, if you leave into the ponds or lake, they will pollute the water over there, and there, the organic matter is containing carbon rich compounds, so it will allow the growth of microorganisms on a very rapid scale. What will happen? The microorganisms, the bacteria will start growing, and The bacteria obviously will require aerobic bacteria will grow over there. They will require oxygen for their growth. So the bacteria will take the oxygen from the water, the dissolved oxygen and the oxygen which is available. And instead of, they will use it, they will not leave much oxygen for the aquatic life, like, fishes and all the aquatic plants which are there in the water. So they will not leave enough oxygen for the aquatic life. So what will happen over a period of time? There will be dead aquatic system in that particular pond or lake. Okay, so you need to reduce this organic matter. You need to reduce this oxygen demand of the microorganism if you leave it into directly with this high organic content into any water body. So this aerobic microorganism will eat that organic matter as a food source, and it will try to reduce the organic content. So basically, it will reduce the BOD of the effluent. And for that purpose, constant agitation and constant aeration is provided in these tanks so that these microorganisms grow rapidly, and they then can reduce the BOD of the effluent. Okay. Now, amount of oxygen that is consumed by the bacteria to oxidize all organic matter in 1 liter water. So if we go to determine technically, what is BOD, if we define it technically, so basically it is the amount of oxygen which is used up by the bacteria to convert or to eat up, basically to break down or to oxidize all organic matter in 1 liter of water. Okay, so you have the, as you see in the picture over here, you have these spargers and propellers which will rotate the water, and there will be in air introduced through pipes in the water. So the growth of aerobic microorganism is established. So it is a measure of the organic matter present in the water. The higher the BOD, the greater is the pollution in the water. So aerobic microorganism will bring down the BOD of the water, thus making it less polluted. Okay. Then once this agitation and growth of aerobic microorganism, thereby decreasing the BOD is done, the effluent now is then passed into a settling tank where the bacterial flocks are sediment. So once all this agitation and everything is there, you have these flocks of bacteria and fungal filaments. They will be now allowed, the water will be allowed to now stand for some time in something known as settling tank. Okay, what will happen? The flocks will settle at the bottom. They kept being heavier, so due to gravity, they will now settle at the bottom. Okay. This is also known as activated sludge. The sediment that settles at the bottom. Okay, the sediments that settles at the bottom is also known as activated sludge. Now, why activated sludge? This matter is containing rich number of, a high number of aerobic microorganisms, those flow. So this can be reused again when another batch of water is coming for secondary treatment. So this activated sludge can be added into that water so that it boosts the growth of aerobic microorganisms, thereby helping in reducing the BOD of the effluent. Okay, so hence it is known as activated sludge. It is reused, it is collected, and then it is reused again, as you see in the diagram, return activated sludge for the next batch of water. So a small part of the activated sludge is pumped back into aeration tanks to serve as the starting material, to serve as the inoculum. Okay, so this is the processes that happen in secondary sediment, secondary sewage treatment. Now, the remaining sludge is pumped into the tertiary tank, into the large tanks. Sorry, just okay. Just so once secondary treatment is done, now the remaining sludge is pumped into large tanks called anaerobic sludge digesters. Now the water which is there, which comes out of the secondary treatment, is now separated from the settled sludge. So some part is again used as an inoculum for the next batch of water coming in the secondary treatment. The remaining sludge is now pumped into large large tanks, like these are closed tanks where air cannot enter. So they are known as anaerobic sludge digesters. Okay, anaerobic sludge digesters. Here the bacterial, some of these anaerobic bacteria will digest the bacteria and fungi in the sludge by producing gas like methane, hydrogen sulfide gas, and carbon dioxide gas. And these gases together form the biogas. Okay, so the water is now ready to be released into the water, and the solid material, the sludge which is remaining in larger amount, can be put into these anaerobic digesters, basically biogas plant. Okay, where there is anaerobic digestion of anaerobic bacteria, and they eat up on the aerobic bacteria and fungi, thereby producing gases like methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, which form the biogas, gases of the biogas. Okay, so effluents that was released from the plant, they are then chlorinated and then they are released into the natural water bodies like rivers and streams. Okay, why chlorination? Because chlorination will kill the remaining pathogenic bacteria, and it is comparatively safe for for this wastewater to now be released into any water body. Okay, so this is what happens in the secondary and then tertiary treatment. From primary effluent aeration tanks, they are then constantly agitated. Growth of aerobic microorganisms into floc. Then this floc, this aerobic microorganism will consume the organic content and it will reduce the biological oxygen demand. Then the water is then allowed to settle in settling tanks. The settled floc is known as activated sludge. Small amount is returned back to the secondary treatment, whereas majority of it is now transferred into larger tanks known as anaerobic sludge digesters, where anaerobic bacteria will eat up the flocs, which is having aerobic bacteria and fungi, and they will produce biogas. Okay, carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. So this is the treatment of the waste material, the sewage water, which consists of 3 steps, that is primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, so this is an overview of the sewage treatment process. Yes, first is the settling process, removing of the bigger waste material, then the primary settling tank, then aeration is provided along with the inoculum, that is aerobic microorganism, where they are constantly agitated. Then they are settled again to go to the tertiary treatment process, where the sludge is settled down and the water is chlorinated and released into water bodies, and the activated sludge is then subjected to anaerobic sludge digestion, whereas it leads to production of biogas. Okay, so that's all about the sewage treatment process. Now, in the next video, we will be talking about the biogas production. Thank you. Take